Subscribe to the Hit That Line Podcast Network, brought to you by Breeden RV Center. Breeden RV Center, family owned and operated, a no-pressure, laid-back atmosphere, and always home of the free maintenance for life.
Y'all better put him in the Heisman. Got that wood right here, baby.
This is the Bud Light Seltzer Morning Rush Podcast. Bud Light Seltzer, for those anytime easy drinking occasion.
Guys, I've been listening to y'all since this show aired. Just wanted to tell Ty, I appreciate how much you know about the Razorbacks. I mean, you're very knowledgeable for as young as you are.
There are people that have saved up all year and done whatever it took just to get a ticket, just to get a glimpse at the Razorbacks.
Got my keg in the freezer. We're ready to get this thing rolling and go home, baby.
Spain has its first U.S. Open champion, Jon Rahm.
You have no idea what this means right now.
I'm a big believer in karma, and after what happened a couple weeks ago, I stayed really positive, knowing big things were coming. I didn't know what was going to be, but I knew we're coming to a special place. I know I got my breakthrough win here, and it's a very special place for my family. And the fact that my parents were able to come, I got out of COVID protocol early. I just felt like the stars were aligning. I just don't know how to explain it.
It's a Hot Take Monday brought to you by Wheels RV. Hope everyone had a fantastic Father's Day weekend. Got a good chunk of stuff to talk about this morning. College World Series happening. I know some of you were locked in. I know some of you glanced at it. I know some of you have seen the scores, but an entertaining weekend for college baseball, particularly in the Arizona-Vanderbilt game that went to 12 innings where the Commodores ended it in a walk-off. You heard Jon Rahm talk about his U.S. victory, U.S. Open victory at the top of our Open. That was a pretty stellar moment considering 2 weeks ago he was removed from the Memorial Golf Tournament with COVID protocol being a part of that. Then also, I know the term 5-second rule resonates with many of you. I want to know who abides by it, who doesn't follow it, and that'll be kind of our food topic of the morning. But we'll start kind of with Father's Day weekend. We'll start with your fish.
Yeah, I had a good Father's Day weekend. If you follow on Facebook, you see there is no place in the world you can offer me a trip to anywhere in the world. I'm not going to be anywhere Father's Day weekend than the North Fork River. It was my dad's special place. It's my special place, and I was blessed on Saturday. First fish of the day before 8:30. Really, really nice brown trout, probably 9 to 10 pound range, somewhere in there. It'll grow as the show goes on. It'll get bigger, but it was
as it should.
If you want to go to my Facebook page, you can see a picture. It was one of those fish of a lifetime, and one even Clay was proud of. He even called me about it. So that was my Father's Day gift. Nothing could really top that other than my mom's chicken spaghetti last night. So I had a nice weekend.
I was at Harry Robinson on Saturday, and Mike was like, "Hey, did you see the fish Tommy caught?" And I was like, "No." And
the only one I've ever seen out of that river that I've seen. There's been bigger ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, this isn't a state or world record, but I mean, this is a 1 in 10,000 type fish. Mike Hessen caught a brown, a male brown up there. That rivals.
Is that the one in his office?
The one is, but this one's got much different color. The color to this one is just that's what sets this fish apart is the color of it.
I know we had some listeners.
I'll tweet it out here in a little bit.
We had some listeners like our friend Greg in Fort Smith who attended. We did some stuff with Wheels Over Bryan. I know that was a lot of fun for some of our listeners that went down there this week. And my dad was asking me about it. I actually surprised my dad, so I had to work on Friday and Saturday, so I didn't come down on Friday. But I actually surprised my dad on Saturday, and he didn't know I was coming. I told my stepmom, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to come down and go to church and do all just the typical Father's Day stuff."
Good
and
for you.
So we did that. I took him out to dinner on Saturday night. We went to the Buffalo Grill in Little Rock, and I got a foot-long chili dog the size of my head.
I saw that on Twitter.
That's what I get. I've gotten that since I was about 5 years old. Every stinking time, a foot-long chili dog from Buffalo Grill. But it was a good weekend. We just kind of chilled, relaxed, and typical watch sports with Dad. It was very, very, very chill weekend that I think a lot of our listeners can resonate with this morning.
Yeah, hopefully everyone had a good weekend of family and friends. Weather wasn't terribly hot. I mean, it was warm, but it wasn't terribly hot, and just always a great part of summer is Father's Day. Father's Day, 4th of July, I guess Memorial Day kind of kicks things off, but I'm going to tell you, to be able to get out and do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's golf with your dad, whether it's fish, whether, go to the lake, whether it's just, grill something. You got to go have a great meal, go to church. Yeah, whatever your agenda was, it was awesome out there. So hopefully everyone had a great Father's Day weekend.
My dad doesn't golf. He doesn't drink like a heathen like myself. So we have bonded over sports over the years.
Yeah.
And he's, I wouldn't say an avid NBA fan, but we watched a little bit of that. Doesn't really watch golf, but typically it's college sports. And Kyle, we watched a little bit of the College World Series. I know that we're going to talk about that more extensively coming up. The best game of the weekend had to be Vanderbilt and Arizona, the way it concluded. And
that one last night was pretty good too.
Yeah, my dad was
pitching.
My dad was joking because we get sit down at the restaurant and it's 3-0 in the first, and my dad goes, "Rocker's getting rocked," and I was chuckling at that. But Vanderbilt ended up finding a way to win. They just have so many weapons. That baseball team under Tim Corbett, elevated by the fact that they can do certain things with their scholarship stuff, being a private school, but all across the board they have hitter after hitter, and Arizona gave them all they could handle, but ultimately Vanderbilt came out the victor. Now I've seen some Arkansas fans that have paid attention pretty tightly to what's happened so far, and then others have been on the fence. Now some Arkansas fans were actually still made the trip to Omaha. You saw pictures, you saw videos on ESPN, and that's just kind of the situation you're in right now.
That's a bucket list event. So if you were able to score some tickets, you were, however you came about them, it's still, whether your team's in it or not, Omaha and the College World Series is still an event you want to go to if you've never been. So, I mean, it's better when your team is there. But I know there are LSU fans, particularly with their run in the heyday with Skip Bertman. They went every year at Rosenblatt, regardless if LSU was in it. Now, they were in it a lot. But, LSU fans had basically season tickets, if you will, annual tickets, and they just go. So I get it. I mean, it's it's a cool event to go to. It's a better event when your team's there.
And I've been there once in 2015 where they went 0-2 in barbecue. Didn't go in 2018 or 2019, and hopefully, assuming Arkansas baseball continues on the track it is under Dave Van Horn, they'll be back, and I'll get to attend and hopefully go for an elongated trip. I'm wondering, when I watched NC State do what they did to Stanford in their first game, should Arkansas fans cheer for the Wolfpack to make their loss look better? Like, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about NC State having success in Omaha.
I think that the further they go, the better it makes you probably feel. I don't know if it makes you look better at this point. Arkansas looks pretty good, even though they're not in the College World Series. But yeah, I think it probably soothes your wounds a little bit. It probably makes you heal a little faster if they made a run to the championship round or whatever. So yeah, I could get on board with some of that. I didn't really have anyone I was rooting for. I had a few teams I was rooting against this weekend.
Tennessee and
Texas being chief amongst them. I guess I want to see Vanderbilt win because that's who I've kind of picked. I'm not really we're obviously not Vanderbilt fans, but I think they're the best team up there
I think
now.
You and I are in agreement on that. I kind of would like to see NC State win, and I think you kind of worded it better. Not necessarily look Arkansas better, but you feel a little more justified in the loss if they ended up winning the whole thing.
No, absolutely.
You're still left wanting. You still wish the Arkansas Razorbacks were playing in Omaha, but in my opinion, it's a little validated.
Yeah, there you go. That was the word I was getting ready to use. Validate. It would be validation
if they win the whole thing. But it's a long way to go. We know this is a 2-week process, but College World Series happening on ESPN. Some good games so far this weekend.
So Texas and Tennessee lost. So that's the headline so far from the week.
There are so many sports to bet on right now, but there's only one place to do it: Bet Online. The month of June has so much action, including basketball and hockey playoffs, baseball's marquee matchups, any prop bet you can think of, plus tons of college football and NFL futures. They have the latest odds at Bet Online, plus all the news and information you need for your sports betting. Visit betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So before your next tip-off, face-off, or pitch, head over to BetOnline and start playing today. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. I want to tell you about the new Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzers. They come in spicy pineapple, cucumber lime, and peach pear. They're light and refreshing and are made with zero sugar. The new Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzers.
Boy, Houdini's in the house, wearing number 3, and nobody's home to watch that house. Touchdown, Hogs! Holy Hog!
I've heard Kevin say this multiple times on multiple different platforms when talking about how he struggled this past season, and he had a conversation with Matt Hobbs, the pitching coach of the U of A. Do you want me to come back? And Coach Hobbs was like, of course we want you to come back. I mean, he ends up going from that situation to winning the Heisman Trophy equivalent of college baseball. And some of the guys tell me that have won this award, Buster Posey, longtime San Francisco Giants catcher.
Played at Florida State.
Steven Strasburg, longtime pitcher with the Washington Nationals. Alex Gordon, Kansas City Royals. Mark Teixeira, New York Yankees. Robin Ventura. I mean, there are like a lot of
What did all those guys do?
Win and make a lot of money.
Played the show.
Playing the show. I mean, he had a season where he redshirted in 2016, Tommy John in 2018. His track record, his journey to this point, it's pretty eye-opening in the fact that it wasn't just highly heralded, highly coveted a lot of plays. I listened to Tony Vitello talk about just kind of how he and some other coaches not felt like they were suckered, but like he kept emailing him, always alerted, hey, I'm pitching here, I'm pitching that. It's just his background, his story. It's just really compelling to see how far he's come as an Arkansas Razorback.
Yeah, Bo Mattingly did a hog pod with him. It's a great listen that kind of tells his background, and you mentioned the emails and trying to just get people to come watching, get college scouts and college coaches rather to come watch him pitch down in Texas and give him a chance, to come. So absolutely, then for his career to end up kind of having to go as long as it did at Arkansas is completely unique. Of course, nothing's not unique about the COVID year and everything that happened, but for him to find his pitch that was so devastating to so many teams this year, and to see, this wasn't like it was three other years to go along with this that was all similar, and it just kind of mounted to this. It was a journey for him to get to this point. And I think what it is in the end, if you stop and just put it in the simplest terms, if you keep working hard and you believe in yourself and the people around you help build you up, great things can still happen in the end, because he was just another pitcher, good pitcher, but just another pitcher on the staff, and he became the best in the country this year in his final season at Arkansas. It's an incredible story.
We'll talk some more headlines coming up here on the Morning Rush. Do want to welcome in Rod on I-40. Rod, good morning, man. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. Well, I suppose it's Monday. I've been driving the last 6 days. So, a word about the season, but first, the 5-second rule, 10 seconds if it's brisket, 15 if it's really good brisket, and I'll fight the lab for it.
I'm with you on brisket.
Yeah, I'll fight my dog for that one.
Of course, I'm extra careful with my brisket so it never gets a chance to hit the floor.
Yeah, you get these sideboards keep that thing from happening.
Exactly.
But, the regular season, we didn't get to Omaha this year. This is why you root for the regular season, the SEC West, the SEC overall title, the tournament title, because you never know. You're a Razorback. This could end in a split, heartbreaking second. You never know. It's just that close all the time, feels like. Yeah. Or just me.
Well, and I think that's why, for some, and I can get on board with this, you're rooting. You'd kind of like to see NC State win a few games and validate your departure from this tournament.
I mean, I'd like to see him win I think you and I both think Vanderbilt's going to do it, but if I'm going to pick a team to cheer for, it would be NC State. And that sounds weird considering they just knocked you out and prevented you from going to Omaha. But again, the word validation is something that you and I both used before the program began or earlier this morning. It gives you kind of that. Now, you're never going to be fully validated with this baseball team because they lost. They didn't win it all. But if you want to look at a silver lining, if they win, I was like, okay, well, maybe this team was the team of destiny this year. You can at least feel a little bit better. It's not
going to remove all the disappointment because you didn't live up to your expectation or your potential. Maybe that's a better word. The potential of this team was to at least get to the championship round. I think if we sit back and we're honest with ourselves, we realize that particularly down the stretch, you didn't have enough starting pitching to probably win the national title or to make a deep run to Omaha, but you certainly had enough to get to Omaha. You look at Saturday, those home runs you gave up consecutively. You just look at a few things in the lack of a timely hit. Same thing. Tennessee was 0 for 8 yesterday with runners in scoring position. What was it, 6-0 against Virginia? They're going to look back at that. Say, 0 for 8 when you got runners in scoring position. That is not how you advance in the College World Series.
I think Willie in West Memphis, if they go 0-2 in barbecue, is going to be making a call to a Knoxville sports radio station, just kind of rile some people up a little bit. So you had that.
You got to have those timely hits this time of the year. I don't care if you're number 1 or number 51. You better hit it when the guy's at second or third.
Yeah, some of the College World Series headlines is we're watching the Arizona Vanderbilt game with my dad this weekend. He noticed that there's some empty seats, and there was still a good chunk of fans, but he looked at me dead in the eye, and he was serious, and he's like, I think if Arkansas is there, there's not an empty seat at that house. And that was kind of the bummer about this, is because I agree. Arkansas right now, they had that shot contest at Rocco's Pizza right next to Arkansas's winning. Well, they are legitimately winning and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, there's this Jell-O shot contest that they do every year at this pizza place. In Arkansas, when they go down there, they dominate it every single year. Well, Arkansas fans who still made the trip made sure that they're still in first place in that.
These first few days, you got to really search and do your homework to find you a good hotel room. And because you got the Olympic swim trials that are in Omaha, you've got the College World Series. It gets difficult. And I think a lot of people, particularly if you're with a program like in Arkansas that's been there before, Vanderbilt be a good example right now that's had some success. Maybe, can they win a game or two and then I'll go up? I've been there those years where it was the Olympic year and the College World Series, and that town is generally just nuts.
It's crazy.
But empty seats, you see that some of these early games, depending on the teams that are in there and how far they had to travel. Virginia, if you're a Virginia fan, they didn't have an exceptional year this year. They're in the College World Series, so it's going to be an exceptional finish. You wonder, is our team built to do it? They've won the national title before in baseball. They're a highly successful program.
Is that the team that won in 2015?
I believe in 15, yeah. You look at, Arkansas lost to Texas Tech and Miami. I believe they won it in 15. That year, wasn't it Tech in Miami, or was it Virginia in Miami?
2019 was what you're thinking of, right?
Yeah.
You lost to Texas Tech in 2019.
Okay.
I think 2015 you lost to Virginia.
Virginia and Miami when you went 0-2?
I think so.
I think that's right.
Because I was there for that.
I was too. I'm just trying to remember. I know Miami was one of them, but I think Miami was the second one. But point being, I think this thing will fill up, and there's a lot of Nebraskans that will come out. Is that the right way you say it? Nebraskans? They'll be there for this event. Mm-hmm. So, Father's Day weekend, it's just some things, but empty seats at the College World Series early on, they're usually few and far between.
Now, I didn't watch the Mississippi State game last night, but they ended up winning, correct? What was the pitching duel that you were talking about, the game you enjoyed?
Well, I didn't intently watch Mississippi State last night, but they had 21 strikeouts to 1 walk last night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. I was just looking at. I watched some of that. I watched golf. That game was on at the same time as golf yesterday. But just looking, let me pull that box score back up because it was just incredible how Texas, and I ended up 2-1. Wasn't like State just lit up the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was 21 strikeouts between two pitchers for Mississippi State.
Some other headlines to get into this morning. Arkansas's got a 5-star 2022 power forward.
Will Bednar.
Will Bednar. Okay.
Yeah, he had 15 strikeouts, 1 walk.
Jeez.
Then Sims comes in, strikes out 6. And I was listening to that game on the radio, and he had struck out his first 4. So Texas just struggled in that game.
So Kajani Wright is the 5-star kid that's coming in from California that's going to be in Fayetteville today. I saw Richard Davenport had that. So hopefully a big-time visit. Hopefully he likes what he sees in Fayetteville, Arkansas with this basketball program. Did you see what Brett Bielema tried to search on Twitter?
I'm glad one of the millennials caught this. I saw his Steinmetz pictures or
photos.
Whatever. I saw the screenshot that was retweeted or whatever. Well, let's be honest. Who amongst us didn't? If we knew how to spell Steinmetz, we'd have done it sooner, right?
But there's a difference between putting that in the search bar and then actually.
How do you do that? That made me. I never really searched for much other than a name. How do you tweet out I couldn't figure out how he did what he did.
I'll tell you how he did what he did. Yeah, it had a thing of Tito's next to him.
Well,
and he thought he was searching it, and it ended up typing it
Tito's
in.
and tweeting don't work?
It was removed relatively quickly, but like you said, whoever screen grabbed it and
so he put it in a actual tweet instead of, he didn't realize he hadn't hit send.
Correct. He was under the impression that he was searching for it instead of tweeted that out, and someone immediately snagged that up over the weekend.
Yeah,
so,
you're right. Probably a little vodka cranberry, about 8 of those.
Yeah.
Or in my case, either that or I didn't have my reading glasses on when I was doing it.
That too. But
I don't think I could have spelled Steinmetz without looking it up. I'd have gotten close though.
We'll get to this meat conversation coming up. Also want to mention the Suns beat the Los Angeles Clippers in Game 1. The Bucks beat the Nets in a thrilling Game 7. Also another great Game 7. I know we'll talk with Tom Murphy a little bit about his Atlanta Hawks, who ended up coming back and beating the Philadelphia 76ers last night. Trae Young really had a dismal game for the majority of it, and then picked it up down the stretch.
And his Braves beat the Cardinals 1-0 too. So.
Oh wow, he's got the whole thing.
He had a good day yesterday.
So, food question for you. We got the brisket in. The 20-pound. It's 18 to 22 pounds. I'm just going to say it's a 20-pound Wagyu brisket, and I'm excited about this. I sent this to our buddy Travis Arnold with the Whitekurt Realtors in Harrison that is part of Trusting the Process, because he's the one that sent me the gift card. So we're really excited. We pinned on a date. We're going to do it July the 10th, which is that Saturday, because I'm going to be gone the next 2 weekends, so we wanted to do that. So the plan is I've given it to my 3 guys who smoke and grill. What was the paper, the parchment that...
No, not parchment. I would get butcher. If I was going to have a $300 Wagyu brisket that I'd, laid out some good coin for, I'd go all out. The big boys, when you watch them on TV, and I've never used this, and I'd like to order some and try it sometime, is the peach butcher paper that, after it's gotten the smoke 4 or 5 hours, depending on your temperature, wrap that baby in peach butcher paper.
Peach butcher paper. Okay. All right.
Try that. Maybe if you spent $300 on a piece of meat, you might as well go spend $20 more on some butcher paper.
Okay.
At this point.
I was also very livid when I got home last night to find out that one of my buddies who was taking care of our dog had gone into our house and eaten my smoked Reuben from Arts that I'd left over the weekend. I opened the fridge. I looked around. I was like, all right, maybe I can't. Maybe
that was the fee.
Maybe I need my reading glasses. I opened it again and it wasn't there. I texted one buddy who I thought was the likely candidate to do this, because they went floating on Saturday and they left their dogs at their house. And I said, you've got one chance to answer this question. Did you eat my Reuben? And he said, no, but I did have an onion ring. And I was like, all right, I'm still mad at you about that, but I can live. But some SOB came into my house and ate my Reuben. I was livid. But
officer, you call the cops. Officer, nothing was taken or stolen other than my Reuben sandwich.
I was so mad. But
what seems to be missing? Well, the smoked Reuben sandwich.
So you've answered kind of help with the meat, and it's more on my buddies, because I'm not going to be one of them smoking it. But I had Arts 3 times this weekend, and one of the
3. You had 3 meals
left over.
Okay.
So
okay. You didn't go there 3 times.
No,
I got you.
No, and so one of the meals in a to-go box I had, the wind was just coming at us on Saturday, and it knocked over my to-go box. And my burger, my fries, they hit the ground. Now, the fries were basically depleted at that point, and it was about 2 seconds. I picked up the burger, picked up the stuff, and put it on my plate. The guys I'm sitting next to said, you better not eat that. And it was about half, and then the other guys said,
they didn't want you to eat it, so they would eat it.
Yeah. The other half said, no, go and eat it. Yeah. And so my question was, because we always hear the term 5-second rule, right? Is that applicable inside? Is that applicable outside? Is it applicable everywhere? As Rod mentioned, it doesn't
work for soup.
Okay. So what is it?
Doesn't work for gumbo.
What meal is it applicable for? A handheld sandwich?
Anything salty, like if you drop something, a chip or a piece of beef jerky, something that's dry and salty, you don't even need it. It's got like a 30-second rule.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, if you drop spaghetti on the floor, you're just throwing that away, right? I mean, it depends on how wet it is, right? But the saltier it is, the less, you don't even worry about the 10-second rule.
Okay.
So no danger.
All right, so no danger whatsoever. So I was.
And the salt's going to kill anything.
I was okay to eat that burger that had fallen.
I
on the
would have
ground.
at least eaten the meat patty. I mean, if the bun falls face down, I mean, I may not want some gravel in my mayo, but I'm not letting one of them.
It was basically on a sidewalk. Is it okay?
Yeah. It's been a hot day. Sun's burned off any bacteria.
B in Clarksville says already chewed gum. So you can't pick that up? Is that what he's saying? Or you can pick that
my
up?
chewed gum?
I would hope so.
I'm probably just getting, if I have another stick, I'm just getting another stick.
It might be in Oklahoma City where you put your gum there. There's a monument or something. I think it's in Oklahoma City where there's like thousands. I mean, it could be millions at this point, like just old chewed gum. And it's a big wall. It's a big display.
Yeah, I can't recall. I've seen that somewhere. What you're talking about?
I think it's in Oklahoma City.
Somebody
morning.
will send that in. Drew's got it over here.
You know where it is, Drew?
The gum. What's it called there? The gum wall.
It's the gum wall in downtown Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, yeah. I've seen pictures.
I may never see that in person.
Yeah.
Now here come the text.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of texters letting us know it's Seattle. So I think that'd be my dad actually was asking me this weekend, Tommy, what's the one, I think you've said this before, Chicago, the city you want to go to?
I haven't been to Chicago. I would like to do a long weekend, fly up on a Thursday, come back Sunday kind of. I've never been to Chicago. I don't know how I've missed that place, but been to New York, been to L.A., never been to Chicago.
Okay, we got Matt texting us in a video of Tom Izzo dropping some popcorn and then picking it up.
Popcorn's got plenty of salt on it.
So it's really the saltier and the more sodium, the more likelihood you're going to not wait longer to pick it up, but if it's there longer, you'll eat it. Is there anything like...
I'm just trying to build up my immune system.
Okay.
That little floor germ ain't going to bother me.
Yeah. Well, it's like those...
I'm not a germaphobe, though.
It's like those Dr. Dazzles that have been sitting in the fridge since... Was that Christmas party, not this past year?
Pre-COVID?
Was 2 years ago, maybe? And so it's...
I mean, to me, it's, you're dropping something on the floor as long as it's not wet. I'm probably not eating the bun mayo down off the sidewalk. But, But the meat, maybe I'll probably still nibble on that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't.
And as Rod said, if it's brisket, I'm not going to let the brisket even come in danger of falling off the plate.
You're just gonna keep it. Oh, I'm trying to find something because we got someone texting us in something this morning. I want to make sure.
I made a pork butt this week, and there might have been a piece or two of the good bark that fell on the floor that,
you just ate.
Now, if you got a dog in the house, you just leave that for them, right? That's just the courtesy, the courteous thing to do.
I had some bird-ins last night, and we ran out of dog food for our dog Maggie, and so Maggie was rewarded with some burn-ins last night. Now, NCAA Hogville says that you can eat anything that isn't wet or sticky as long as you blow it off first. Saturday, my 1-year-old kept dropping snacks on the ground, and I continually kept blowing them off, and he didn't seem to mind it at all. It's like we ate like dirt as kids. Yeah. You remember that?
Everything we eat grows out of dirt, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think so.
In one way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Oh, it's
dirt don't hurt.
Yeah, it's okay. So we've talked College World Series a little bit this morning. We'll do a little more of that coming up. U.S. Open, John Rahm gets it done. First Spaniard to ever win. And we also, Danny Russellville, I know, was asking about your fish. You got
I thought he was on hold. He hung up?
He hung up, I
Danny.
thought. But you caught a pretty big brown over the weekend.
It was just a blessed weekend. My dad, we didn't grow up trout fishing. We didn't grow up fishing a lot. We fished some ponds and we'd fish here and there, but we were more of a golf family than a fishing family for sure. We'd go to baseball games, we'd golf a lot. But 2008, I was in my 30s, early 30s then. We ended up with a place on the North Fork River, and all of us fell in love with trout fishing. So my dad left us in 2015, passed away, and I'm just telling you, every Father's Day, they're in a place on earth I'd rather be than the North Fork River. So fishing Saturday morning with my father-in-law and our guide, Paul Storm, and first fish of the day, just up from the house, 9-pound or so brown, 25 inches long, but this thing was fat, like 17 inches around.
Girth is the word Mike used.
Huge fish. I mean, this fish had been normal size. It'd been 34 or 5 inches. So
Do I get brown?
For me, it wasn't a state record or a world record, anything like that, but it was one of the biggest fish. It was one of the biggest fish I've ever caught, biggest brown I've ever caught. And it felt good. It felt good to have that kind of fit. I mean, that's not something you do every year even, or every few years.
You went to Hot Springs and hung out with your dad. Y'all went to Magic Springs, is that what you told me?
Yeah, we went to Magic
How was
Springs. It was actually a lot of fun. Obviously, people thinking, why did your parents, with two 20-year-old, two kids in their 20s, go to Magic Springs? My brother has an 8-year-old daughter, so they drove over to Hot Springs, and it was a lot of fun. And honestly forgot how fun water slides and roller coasters are.
All right.
They are still extremely enjoyable. Even every water slide I went down was fantastic.
Was it packed?
It was. On Saturday.
Last time I went to Magic Springs, like every youth group from every church in the state was there the last time I was there.
Well, Vanilla Ice was performing Saturday.
Oh, well.
I didn't know he still toured.
Wow.
But he was at Magic Springs Saturday night.
Ice Baby.
Unaware of that. That's pretty wild.
I was fishing and missed that.
I was going to say, I bet you'll have some fun with Phil on that later.
All right, that's the voice of Drew Barrett. We'll be telling you more about Drew as maybe later in the show. Hear his story, who he is. He's going to be with us here in Every Day Forward, the new SmackDown, the new and improved SmackDown here on the Morning Rush.
So do I get brownie points? I felt like that I was very welcomed by my dad and my stepmom this weekend. It's the only son or daughter that made the trip for Father's Day, and they sent a picture to our family group, said, and this is the only son or daughter that seems to love their dad. So it was a more joke. It was a joke than anything. But
there was some seriousness in there.
I was like, I trekked out. I had work on Saturday, and I still came down. Now I will say I have a middle stepsister who's pregnant and has a kid, an older stepsister who has 3 kids, younger. I don't know if she really has an excuse, and then brothers in Dallas. So I have a little closer drive than and I don't necessarily have the kids attached to the hip to me, but I still think that
but you recognize the situation.
Took advantage.
And what you said, you said in the kindness and most tender part of your heart, I'm not going to let my dad be alone on Father's Day with none of his children around.
My stepmom was working on Saturday night until about 8:30 or 9, so he would have been just walked in. He just kind of looked at me funny at first, so I was like, came to surprise you.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
The best bacon, the best steak, and the best chicken and salmon you'll ever eat is going to come from moinkbox.com. And you can join the Moink movement today. Go to moinkbox.com/believe right now, and listeners to this program get free bacon for a year with every box order. This is the best bacon you'll ever taste, but it's only available for a limited time. You spell out Moink, MOINK box.com. Again, MOINK box.com/believe to get free bacon for a year with every box order. Why do just 4 companies control 80% of the U.S. meat industry? Because big food crushes the little guy. You can help change that with moinkbox.com. Moink was founded by an 8th-generation farmer who was featured on Shark Tank. Host Kevin O'Leary said it's the best bacon he's ever tasted, and I agree. Moink meat is so delicious, I love it, and you will too. Get Moink right now at moinkbox.com/believe. Try the new Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade. The taste of sweet lemonade meets the refreshment of a hard seltzer. Original black cherry, strawberry, and peach lemonade. The new Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade.
They just threw him out of the game. He's gotten his second technical, and he's been thrown out of the ball game.
Wasn't good. Tom, I want to start this morning just with Kevin Kopps and just another, not just another, but he picks up 2 awards over the weekend, the Dick Hauser Trophy and the Stopper of the Year given to the best relief pitcher in college baseball. Tom, what is the most impressive thing that you've noticed about Kevin Kopps after covering him the last few years?
Well, and good morning, everybody, probably his personality and just his kind of just an honest, good person. And Dave Van Horn has been telling us that all year. And, he was a team captain for 3 years. So that means that he's been impressive to his teammates. And for him, I'm just happy that his work and he decided to devote what he talked about on his Hauser Trophy video conference was that he devoted his eating to performance as opposed to, liking what he was eating. So he ate better. He trained. He got himself into position that he had the stamina to pitch on back-to-back days and pitch long innings and stuff. And he turned himself into, with the help of that cutter, a pitcher who we're going to be talking about this season for years upon years, one of the best ever in college baseball history.
Yeah, you mentioned his eating habits, and we were talking with Rick about that 2 weeks ago, and he talked about how he did research. He was trying to figure out what would be good to put in his body, and that was how kind of the beet juice got started. But when you look at Kevin and is how it started this year, Tom, even this year he wasn't the initial closer. That was Jackson Wiggins, and then he fights through like a terrible season last year. He's had Tommy John surgery. He's redshirted before. I mean, you think about kind of the trials and tribulations he's gone to. Based on what Rick said, based on what Kevin said, I'd say those have really made him the pitcher that we saw this past year.
No question about it. He did not have a good ERA, and I led my story with this in Saturday's paper, that he wasn't sure if Arkansas would even want him back or if they'd want to have their roster with younger, new, lively arms. And Matt Hobbs was like, no, that's just stupid. Come on back. And he went from having the 8 ERA. He gave up more runs in, I think, 11 innings or 11 appearances in 2020. He gave up more runs in 11 appearances than he did in 33 appearances this year. And quite honestly, y'all, I said this last week, they should have scored enough runs that he was the winning pitcher in the Sunday game, and they were playing in the College World Series now.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though tagged with a loss in that game, I think that game probably did as much to further his lore and to further the passion I think a lot of people have for him, to see what he did even in that game, even though he gave up the deciding run and the home run. I think just the gutsiness of that performance, I think while you came up short and you're tagged with the L, I think that performance in itself probably did as much for his for the history of Kevin Kopps as any other outing.
I think so, because he gave up the 2-run home run. Arkansas goes on top with the Charlie Welch double. He gives up the 2-run home run, and it's 2-1 for several innings. And he just held Arkansas in it. He had many pretty short innings, the 4th, 5th, 6th through there. He was more on top of his game, and you just felt like the Razorbacks would finally solve that freshman right-hander whose changeup and whose high fastball just kind of baffled Arkansas, kept them off balance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can think about it and interpret it. And I've had family members and friends come up and kind of question the tactics. Do you go with Wicklander maybe to start the top of the 9th? But yeah, I think Kopps solidified himself. But let me tell y'all something. I think North Carolina State is a legit great team. They were 1-8 in conference play, and they powered down the stretch. They were very hot. They went in and blasted Louisiana Tech, and they came up here and they did what they had to do. I think if Arkansas plays them, 20 times, Arkansas wins 15, 16 of those games. It just so happened that those two, they had the right combination of pitchers. Arkansas didn't tax 2 starters and didn't make those left-handers come in sooner, and it just went in their favor. But you saw in their opening game at the College World Series that Butler hit another 2-run home run. I actually like how humble and hard-working these guys sounded after their Zoom calls. They didn't rub it in. I mean, Elliot Avent said, I don't want to use the term we beat Kevin Kopps. We just kind of outlasted him. And so, I don't know. I have an appreciation for the style of ball they play and their approach, and I hope they do well in the College World Series.
Tom Murphy with us here on a Monday edition of the Morning Rush, a Hot Take Monday brought to you by Wheels RV. Let's shift gears, talk some Arkansas football. This weekend, if you're on Twitter and any of us paying attention, it was just loaded up with photos from recruits with pictures with Sam Pittman, pictures with with position coaches. Great to see. I know we're not talking recruiting, so just great to see a return to normalcy, Tom, with official visits on campus, players declaring when they're going to come, and putting Arkansas on their list. That's one of those things that this time of year we didn't see a year ago. We weren't sure when this was going to happen again, and now finally Sam Pittman's able to really, recruit the way he's always has in his career as an assistant.
That's right, and June was the big moment, and they are capitalizing on that. And if you rated all the different things you have to do to be a successful football program, X's and O's, hiring of coaches, game plans, all those things, and recruiting, all the stuff you have to do, being a phenomenal recruiting program has got to rank up there at the very top. And Sam Pittman understands that. He had a good idea of it when he was at Arkansas, but when he went to Georgia, he saw I think he referred to it as recruiting on steroids. And so he's brought that here. And they understand the kind of the social phenomena that you kind of create when you have the guys on campus, and you get them to envision what it will be like. They're wearing the uniform, they're having their pictures made, what it's like to kind of be in life. Now, Sam Pittman also tells them about the hard work that it's going to require. But for Arkansas, it was imperative that they start getting talent and getting a deeper roster. Yeah. And it just seems like they're on top of their game, and who knows, I don't think it's going to translate into being a contender in the SEC next year, but winning half your games and starting to trend upward, I think, is very realistic to believe.
Tom, for the 2022 and the 2023 class, what do you need to see to say that's success for Arkansas? Because I don't think you're going to see ever a number 1, 2, 3 national ranking. Be hard to even get to there in the West, much alone the conference.
Yeah.
So what defines success for you in your definition for Arkansas when it comes to recruiting and success for Sam and his staff?
Well, just landing some big-time skill talent, improving speed really at all positions, but they've got to get defensive linemen. They've got to get defensive ends. If they'd have had, healthy defensive ends for the LSU game, they win that game. Mm-hmm. Maybe against Missouri, those guys get enough of a pass rush that Missouri can't throw all over them during their comeback. And maybe you win 2 more games. And suddenly, you went from this is a promising 3-7 season to, wow, what a legit turnaround, 5-5. It didn't happen. Of course, the Auburn game could have gone either way. But, yeah, they've got to get defensive ends who make a difference. We're talking about 6'5", 6'6", the prototype D ends, and stack up some depth. They got to get some linebacker help because now that Grant Morgan and Poole are older, they got to be able to have linebackers come in, and you can tell they're recruiting the last couple of years. They understand the value of defensive backs against modern offenses. That's why their schemes against Ole Miss, they were effective because Ole Miss had not seen a lot of that. So they've been stacking up at the end. They've got guys who they think can cover. Didn't work out so well in the Missouri game, but when you've got Greg Brookses and Buster Browns and Hudson Clarks and guys like that at corner, Ladarius Bishop, you can do well if they do their assignments in big games, and then just get some offensive talent in, some O-linemen. You got to recruit everywhere, but it seems to me they know what they're doing, and if they can get a collection of 4 stars and a few 5s dotted in, they could be on their way in the SEC West.
Yeah, it's not like they haven't had those type of guys in the past. You think about a Trey Flowers, you think about a Jake Beckett, you think about a Jamal Anderson, and I know that's one of the more difficult positions to recruit in the Southeastern Conference because there's not as many of those. But for Coach Ashley, I mean, what have you found out about him that leads you to believe that they can have success in that area recruiting those guys?
Well, if Sam Pittman tells us that he thinks they're going to be a better pass rushing team, that their technique is going to be more sound, and then the pass rushers themselves, I mean, we've had the Zooms with Zach Williams and others, and they say, man, I've got better moves. I'm not just doing bull rushes, or I'm stronger. I'm able to put spin moves in, and use my hands better. I mean, that's the thing we heard the most, is that they're being able to use their hands better.
Mm-hmm.
But the talent at tackle, offensive tackle in the SEC, is not going to diminish. So it's always going to be a challenge. And you have to stack 2 or 3 good defensive ends also with good defensive tackles. I mean, they just got to be stronger and deeper on the defensive front, and Sam Pittman knows it.
And faster.
Yeah.
Speed's not just something for wide receivers and running backs. Speed's also something for defensive ends and getting there as well. So, I mean, I just think overall team speed, the more you can improve that, the faster you're going to, the faster you're going to get there is the faster you are, I guess, so to speak.
No question about it. And, receiver and running back, all those positions. And right now, when you think of their skill positions going into 2021, if KJ Jefferson is improved and all that, they'll be better. But what do they have behind Traylon Smith and Traylon Burks? I mean, who's going to fill in some of these gaps? And to me, that's one of the biggest keys on this team. Can Rocket Sanders and A.J. Green, can some of these guys help at running back? And who's going to help Traylon Burks in the receiving core to keep teams from bracketing him and putting a lot of attention on him?
Tom, appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you on Thursday, okay?
And can you believe my Atlanta Hawks?
Oh, yeah, I forgot to.
Conference semifinal.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Trae Young was 2 for 17 at one point, and they just got going, and combinations of defense, some clutch shooting, and Philly just choking it away in their home court last night. I bet you were loving every bit of that.
As an Atlanta fan, you're kind of trained to wait for the other shoe to drop. We take a 3-2 lead. Oh, we're going to lose at home. We're going to lose the series. No, not this time. It was sweet.
Got it done. Eastern Conference Finals.
And your Braves beat the Cardinals in 7. So,
how about that?
Yeah. So.
Drew Smiley, good job, son.
Yeah. Tom, have a good one. We'll talk later this week. Tom Murphy with us here on the Morning Rush.
You're listening to the Bud Light Seltzer Morning Rush podcast.
A bright red Razorback caravan is headed to Nebraska, and this time we're coming for the whole damn thing.
Got a chance to catch up with some Arkansas people this weekend down there in Little Rock, and so I'm thinking about the upcoming season, particularly the Texas game that I know we're really excited about the second week of September. It occurred to me, just like this basketball team this past year, that there are players that have yet to play fully in a Bud Walton Arena packed crowd. And just like this upcoming season, inside of Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, you'll get that full impact because not only you don't have to worry about COVID restrictions, but there's a lot of excitement surrounding this team. Now, I don't know if they're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be a bowl team. I don't know if they'll be better. I don't know if they'll be worse. But the excitement heading to this season, there is a lot of that, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a sec.
Hot Take Mondays brought to you by Wheels RV, 5 miles west of exit 72 on 549 in Springdale. The best brands at the best prices. Also the best brands that are available for rent, whether it's motorized RV, a motorhome, or towable RVs like a fifth wheel or bumper pool. They have those available for weekend or weekly rentals if you'd like to experience camping or maybe experience a different size camper to see exactly where you want to head, maybe with your weekend adventures and your summer adventures. Wheels can help you get out and seek, explore, and discover so many great places around the natural state. So if you'd like to rent for the weekend or a full week, they can help you that with an RV or a towable, both fifth wheel and bumper pool RVs for rent as well. It's all at Wheels RV, 5 miles west of exit 72 on 549 in Springdale. Seek, explore, discover with Wheels RV.
Hoping this is going to be the right one. So back in 2004.
In Fayetteville, Arkansas, they're calling the Hogs. Welcome to ESPN's college football. Tonight, the 8th-ranked Texas Longhorns take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. All season, ESPN Saturday night college football.
I know the outcome, Tommy, that night was not what you wanted.
Nope.
Were you in that game?
I was there.
That night? I mean, that was an incredible
Me and my dad went.
Football game between the Arkansas Razorbacks and the 8th-ranked Texas Longhorns. And that wasn't the year they won the national championship. That was the following year. But Vince Young and company had a really good team. And they were a play or two away from falling to Arkansas that year. You had the double pass. I'm forgetting who threw it, but there was a couple plays in that game that just brought the house down. And I'm sitting here this week and I saw Again, I saw Pastor Mark Henry down there at Fellowship, and he actually was eating at the same restaurant we were after the game, and it was kind of funny. So all the white boys, Tommy, Cooper, who's going to be a freshman at the U of A, was a really good wide receiver at PA this past year. Zach, who's playing in Minnesota right now, and he's on the Arkansas baseball team. John David, who'll be a junior this upcoming fall. And then Walker's going to be a 10th grader at Little Rock Christian who's going to play quarterback for them. They were there. Now, Zach was up in Minnesota, but Mark was giving his kids a hard time because Hunter, Hudson, and Hayden didn't come back that weekend to see their dad. So that was just good. He was just having some fun with them this weekend. But I'm thinking, like, I'm sitting here talking to John David as we're walking out of church and thinking to myself, it's like, he grew up going to games. Like, we grew up going to games with each other. But he's never played in front of 76 or 80,000 strong. And they're not going to have that against Rice the first weekend. But
it's going to be high. It's a 1 o'clock game.
But
so.
Tommy, 6 o'clock, Texas, Southwest Conference foe. You hadn't played them at home since 2004, 17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me.
Maybe a bigger crowd than you think for Rice, though. Just
you think so?
The anticipation of a new season, the return of normalcy. If there's no, and there wasn't for baseball, so I anticipate nothing different for football. Mm-hmm. If there's no change in kind of the status and you can freely attend the game with no mask,
by the way,
I think you'll have a. I think you'll be north of 70,000 just because of the excitement and anticipation of something new, a new season. May not be full, but I think you'll have a big crowd.
I might have just missed this. Has Arkansas's Hunter Yurchek come out and said that they're doing full capacity? Because Ole Miss has done it and several other SEC schools. I don't think I've seen that memo.
I think he said the anticipation. I think I don't know that
anticipated.
I don't know that they've declared it, but
that's weird.
They're selling. They're selling the tickets. I mean, if you're selling the tickets to full capacity, I guess you're planning on being at full capacity.
What are they waiting on? If other SEC schools have done it,
do you need to come out and say it? I mean, there are some that don't believe you should do it. I don't know. I mean, if he said it, but he's certainly said he anticipates being at that.
Well, it just
if there was a release. Maybe it happened while I was out of town or something. I didn't see it, but
maybe someone helped me with that. I don't think I've missed that.
But I fully expect if they could sell 80,000 seats. I know it's 76. They could get 80 in there for the Texas game.
Yeah. So let's think about these first 2 weeks this upcoming season. And unfortunately, guys like Jalen Tate, Justin Smith, and Moses Moody, they'll never get to experience playing in a full Bud Walton Arena, and that stinks because that's the best team you've had in 25 years. That's the most Arkansas.
Still your best venue when it's at its best.
Correct. That's such a bummer because when you think about the hard work and effort, and that's something I was thinking about several times throughout the season. It's like, man, this team, they never got to experience that full intensity that Bud Walton Arena can provide. And I'm like, Tommy, that's the best venue you got on campus when it comes to, not that Baum-Walker Stadium isn't great, not that Donald W. isn't great, but I'm with Tommy.
We haven't seen Donald W. in its current configuration great. We don't know.
That's a good point.
Since the north end zone's been closed in, we don't know.
And I would think with them, the glass panel or walling that has, because you used to be able to look in and you could still see through, but it's enclosed that sound, so that sound will bounce back into the stadium. I think I've only heard one player over the years say that that's the toughest place they've ever played. That was Greg McElroy following the 2010 game. Now, Mike Leach said it about Little Rock and War Memorial Stadium, but I don't remember if there's been a coach outs. Now, we had Coach Schaefer on, old Mississippi State and Texas A&M coach, and he talked about the fans and how great they were. But Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if a former player, coach, or current has ever said that Donald W. is the toughest venue they've ever played in. Now, I've heard it about.
He's talking about the loud. I think McElroy was referring to the volume of the noise. That's what I'm interested to see is if we can get there for that Texas game. The official capacity 76,000. Well, that's what they called the 2010 game at. So there's room to squeeze more in somewhere, I guess.
How big? Sorry, say the number one more time.
70. The largest crowd to ever attend a game is 76,000 away for the 2010 Alabama game.
Yeah, and I would think for the Texas game, like you said, you can cram.
Now you have more seats, but I think the official capacity, even with a new north end zone, it went from 72 to 76, 202 or whatever it is.
But you can cram 80 with standing room like you're talking about.
I think so.
And I think they'll be able to do that.
Is there 80,000 that will buy it?
For the Texas game? I would think so.
If you could only get a standing room, an SRO ticket, would you rather have an SRO and be there or watch on TV?
I'm going to be honest. My late grandpa, who this wouldn't necessarily apply to them because he and my grandma had season tickets on the 50-yard line forever. But if he was put in a situation where somehow, some way, those tickets were taken away from him, and even at his older age, the only way he could do it was stand up, he would stand up and go to that game. That is the level of hatred that this fan base, the older fan base, the guys like my late daddy Joe and others have for the University of Texas. And again, you haven't had them inside of Donald W's in 17 years. They're coming to your house. They have to go through you. And the other great thing about that game, Tommy, all the pressure's on them. No one outside of the state, and I've seen a few college football analysts here and there say Arkansas might win that game, but the expectation for Steve Sarkisian in week number 2 is for them to not just beat Arkansas, but wipe the floor with them. So if it's in the fourth quarter and it's a 7-point, a field goal ball game, who's the pressure going to be on? Sam Pittman and them, they're going to be sitting pretty, and they're going to be looked intent with a focus and a level because they know how crucial that game is. Now, we had Coach Pittman on about a month ago when we were at the Arkansas Children's Homes and Family Ministries Golf Classic, and you brought up that game, and he knows the significance of that. Sure, now, he also made sure to mention we're focused on Rice week 1, as everyone is, but, I mean, you don't want to gloss over. I heard Ruskin mention this the other day. Rice is projected 6 wins in Vegas right now. That's their over-under. You know what you're at?
I don't think that's a push. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think
it's 5.5, Tommy.
Yeah.
So, you can't
now, you want to trade schedules with
Different
Rice?
level. Absolutely.
I think Arkansas would probably have a little higher over-under if you got to play Rice's schedule. But I'm not expecting that game to just be a walk in the park. Arkansas hadn't had any, to speak of, non-conference games that were just walks in the park because Arkansas is now looked at by the Rices of the world, and we've seen that in the Chad Morris area as, let's borrow again from Ruskin and Sack, gettable. Arkansas is. So you've got to go out and hopefully you can dominate, win that game by a few touchdowns, ease some anxieties around this fan base, and feel like you're on track to be prepared for Texas. You could play well against a good Texas team, though, and still not be within a few touchdowns.
Yeah.
But there's always just something magical in that series.
So Matt texted in, Tommy. He says he bought season tickets just for the Texas game, and he lives 900 miles away.
What's that game will do for you?
But we also had a text from Mountain Home that said he's going to watch it on TV instead of standing room only. So if it comes down to that, if they fill up the 76 actual seats, do you expect them to sell the other 4,000 standing room?
Well, will they make that available? I assume they will.
I think so.
And let as many people as they can physically get in there.
Well, it's like
you got the South Concourse, and you got good concourses around
plus
there.
The people that watch it. It's like what you keep coming back to. There's still, and I know that the SEC gave a surplus of $23 million to each school, but they're still, according to Hunter, at now $7 million because you were $30 million in deficit. You get the $23 million, so easy math tells you that's still a $7 million deficit. And I don't know. You talked about how much money they actually made, how much they cut away, stuff like that. But
when revenue goes away, so do expenses.
But you mentioned how, I mean, they still need to make that money back. You do that, and you take advantage of the selling opportunity in the Texas game.
The timing of the Texas game could not have come better for Hunter Yurachek and the foundation. From the tweet you just read from Matt, the text that came in, rather. He bought season tickets 900 miles away. I don't know if Matt will get to 2 or 3 or 4 games up there, but
he's coming to
the Texas game, and he bought season tickets for that very reason. And if you want to sit lower level between the 20s, you're going to give a pretty good donation for that right. So it's not just about the ticket sales, and I think it's $450 a seat plus your donation. It's you're trying to build back financially to what you were.
Now, Tommy, we were speaking to how expensive the super regional tickets were going for. What do you think the resale value is going to be on those Texas tickets as we approach that coming up closer? I mean, it's going to be absurd, you would think, right?
I don't know. I mean, again, there's 80,000 of those. There were 10, 11,000 baseball tickets. So there's a difference in supply as well.
Major difference. That is a good point. But I would think that the secondary market is still going to be pretty crazy.
You won't see someone trying to sell and maybe try him. I don't think he was going to get thousands. And there was a $4,000 seat down the first base line. I don't know if they got that. Doubt they did. But
well, you weren't here when I told this story, Tommy. One of my buddies jokingly put up his tickets, his $15 tickets. Now, he paid a season donation and did stuff through the Razorback Foundation. He jokingly put them up for $600 a pop.
Got it.
Good
for him.
He, with no intent, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Ty, I did that as a joke." And someone
How many do you
bought it.
have?
2.
So he took $30 and turned it into $1,200. I mean, I'd love to be at the game, but that's hard to pass up. Now, I gave our tickets away and I went to a game, but trust me, the thought, if you had tickets in your hand, the thought had to cross your mind in that super regional. I just don't know that the Texas game, because of where, you haven't been ranked number 1, you're not going to be ranked number 1. That fueled that.
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas football is just not going to command that price, certainly with 80,000. I know it's Arkansas, Texas, but I don't think you're going to see people paying $500 and $600 and $700, $800 or $1,000 or more for a ticket to that game.
Matt brings up another good point. I think you'll see a lot of super regional games as long as Dave Van Horn is your head baseball coach, but he's saying it'd be another 20 years before you see Texas come to town. There's not to my knowledge, there's not a conversation that Chris Delicante and Hunter Yurchek are having on the table at the current moment about rescheduling this game. Remember, Delicante's comments included Arkansas in this mix, that they want to schedule teams who are on the verge of winning/paying for a national championship. Well, right now, in its current state...
Well, good thing you pay OU every year because they've won your conference 6 years in a row.
They keep on beating
your butt.
So that's just a... Listen, that's.
I don't like OU, but that's just. I can't deny facts.
So Texas really hasn't competed for a national championship in quite. I guess there were. I think there was one year with Ellinger that they were close, but they couldn't get over the hump. The fullback that was playing quarterback for them, but that's the game everyone's going to pay attention to. There's no question about it.
We've been talking about heading down to Boonville to eat lunch one day, or just drive down and have dinner at Reed's Hometown Barbecue. I have not been there yet, and I want to try because every one of my buddies that have been there tell me it's worth the drive. The brisket, the pork, the chicken, their spare ribs, they hand select and then season with their homemade rub. They're right there that they make in-house. Slow smoked over hickory, oak, and pecan gives their meats a unique and original smoke flavor. If you like barbecue that's almost like a work of art, you're going to like Reed's Hometown Barbecue in Boonville, Arkansas. It's the best barbecue in the state. It's an awesome atmosphere. Just go to TripAdvisor, in these places. These are the kind of comments you're going to get. Great service, hands down the best barbecue around at Reed's Hometown Barbecue in Boonville. I can't wait to try it. People drive from Fayetteville, Hot Springs, and all over to try Reed's because it's just that good. Reed's Hometown Barbecue in Boonville, open Thursday through Saturday, 11 till 9.
Let's welcome in Randy in Fort Smith. He wants to talk tickets this morning. Go ahead, Randy.
Hey, I've ate at Reed's before. It's definitely top of the line. I don't know if I'd drive from Springdale, Fayetteville, but I'd drive from Fort Smith. It's worth the drive. But I was going to comment on the ticket prices. And I know the most I've ever had to pay was for Alabama. And I got in the south end zone, which is where I like to sit, right almost in the middle of the goalpost. And it was $380 each. And it was well worth it until Mallett threw a couple of bonehead interceptions. But that's the best crowd I would say I've ever seen. And hopefully the Texas one will be better because people are hungry from not being able to go to a football game. But I will tell you this, I've been going to games for a long time, and that Alabama game is the first time 30 minutes before the game, and it's Ryan Mallett's senior year, I guess it was 2010. And 30 minutes before the game, they did a hog call, and everybody in the stadium was doing it. And then when Wingo caught that wheel route for a touchdown, I've never heard Razorback Stadium ever, any football game, Little Rock or whatever, be that loud. And I expect Texas, first of all, I think we're going to beat them. And then I also expect Texas to even be just like that crowd or even better.
I think Gary Danielson and Vern Lundquist, who were calling it for CBS, Randy, were startled at the time when Wingo got that wheel route because that place just exploded. If you remember, before Jarius Wright caught a 20, 30-yard, it was a slant route, or it was a longer slant route. I can't think of the route, what it's called at the current moment. But, that place, unfortunately, I wish I was there. And I was watching that game with my brother, and I didn't curse. Was it 2010? So that puts me as a 10th grader. I didn't curse when I was in 10th grade. I cursed during that game because of how that game concluded, unfortunately, is Ryan. And it wasn't, Ryan, yes, he threw the 2 interceptions, but you wouldn't have been in that game without Ryan Mount. And there were some other plays that you would have loved to have back that Coach Petrino and company and that team would have loved to get another shot in. But like I said, now, I always...
That opening script of plays, though,
it was unbelievable.
Perfectly executed right down the field. Boom.
Just, it was... But unbelievable.
That ticket was high. We were talking about tickets and the anticipation for the game and sellouts. That ticket was highly anticipated. I still think the most pre-game anticipated ticket was when USC came to town in
2006.
That was the hardest ticket I've ever seen to get prior to the game. There were nothing but fingers up out on the sidewalk. No tickets in the air. That game, and I remember talking with someone from the foundation that week who just shared with me that they were looking for someone that had a box to give it up because somebody from California was willing to pay $20,000, which would have at that time covered basically your year for their box for that one game. We did a ticket giveaway when Chuck was doing his show. We had 500 people show up and get a numbered ticket to win
That's insane.
A pair of tickets. It was insane that week leading up to that game.
Well, that's one important time what Arkansas football was, and you hope what would be just great and ideal, I don't know if it's going to happen, is if they just beat the tar out of Rice in week 1.
Help.
And then that Texas game.
I just hope they win by at least one.
To win
based on the recent track record of non-conference games.
Inferior opponents.
I'm not going to, I just want to win by 1.
Subscribe to the Hit That Line Podcast Network, the best podcast in the Natty State. Just search Hit That Line wherever you listen to podcasts. Brought to you by Breeden RV Center.
This podcast has been presented by Bet Online.